I got this good friend named Taro Imamura from Japan, um, and he studied in the United States for a while. And it just so happened that me with he visited my parents on the 50th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. It was an interesting evening because my parents always had the television on, and it was filled with Pearl Harbor memories and documentaries and interviews and all of that. And, uh, jokes were exchanged and all of that. And, well, anyway, by coincidence, purely by coincidence, um, on August 5th, is it today? Anyway, in early August of 1995, I went to the 50th anniversary, August, of the bombing of Hiroshima. I had gone to Japan. Now, I have a problem that I don't often talk about, that I overcame when I came to Slovenia, but I didn't overcome several other times. I guess you could call it travel anxiety. You could also call it tendency toward nervous breakdown. But I had this intense desire to travel. But whenever I did, I would have a nervous breakdown. I had one in Hong Kong. I had one in India. I had one in Arizona. I had one in Chattanooga. Chattanooga breakdown. That sounds like a good. If I could play the banjo, that would be my bluegrass tune. Chattanooga breakdown. And well, when I went to Japan, I knew that I had this. By then, I understood what was going on. So I got some drugs, that were like the kind you take when something sets upon you, day-to-day drugs. Something like, well, I don't actually know what you do in the United States anymore, but what I did was I got a shitload of these pills and got ready. I spent the whole summer up to that point getting ready for my first days in Japan. And well, it was pretty exciting going there. We stopped at Seoul and then flew to Tokyo. And Taro and another friend picked me up, and they dropped me off. I was going to live with Taro and get a job teaching English. And what ended up happening was on the following morning, which was Saturday, Sunday was the 5th, the 50th anniversary of the, well, there went my light. There, now it's back on. Okay, we'll see how this goes. It'll probably go off again. If it does, it'll be dark. It's just that I know physics to that extent. So I woke up on Saturday and I thought, okay, here I am in Japan, and I took a bath. I had a deep square-shaped bathtub, and it was kind of nice. Taro had rented me a small place for a week before our apartment would be ready, and I have no idea where that would have been. I was in Kaneda, that neighborhood of Tokyo. I went for a walk, and it was on the way back from the walk that the anxiety started to set in. And, the one thing I really wanted to do while I was there was to see the Nihonbashi Bridge, which is, one end of the Tokaido Road. And so despite my nerves, I took plenty of pills. They didn't affect me at all. And in fact, there was a color to my disease that day. It was brown. It was sort of like, amber is too grandiose a term. It was a brown day. Everything was brown. The Nihonbashi bridge was brown. We went to eat dinner somewhere. I had noodle soup. It was brown. Everything, the air was brown. We stopped into a pachinko parlor, which I thought was going to drive me insane. And well, I went back to my room, and I had a horrible night. The anxiety was so physical that I could feel it in my arms. Imagine anxiety, which usually you feel here, being in your arms, and your legs, and But I remember just the arms. Let's see if this works a third time. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, so by then, I woke up. I don't know how much I slept. Probably not much. But by the time it was late enough to call Taro, I already knew that I had to fly back to the United States as rapidly as possible. It's a panic attack, and it's so profound that I could feel it physically. So this was the 50th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima, and I was feeling some weird shit. Not at all, one would hope, or one would guess, connected with radiation sickness or anything like that. Although perhaps it was mimicking it. I don't know. But I had $300 on me, and if I wanted to fly out that day, it was $2,700. That's how airlines work. If you buy it ahead of time, you might get a good deal, but you buy it that day, if it's an emergency, well, you're fucked. And so I didn't even think about it. I had to go. I remember Taro came to my apartment, and he brought this ethereally beautiful woman with him, who was his girlfriend. And I said, Taro, she's a very, very pretty woman. And he said to me, come with me tonight to Roppongi. I'll find you one just like her. And the remarkable thing was that had absolutely no meaning to me whatsoever. What was happening to me was so strong that there was nothing that would keep me there. And I was going home, wherever home was. And home wasn't where I was actually going to stay. I wrote Billy Verite during the time period after that. When I got back to the United States, I moved into an office building illicitly, shared it with a friend of mine. It was sort of a stairwell, and we were renting it as an art studio. And, you weren't supposed to sleep there. And eventually we got tossed out. But I finished Billy Verite, started and finished Billy Verite while I was living there. So that was my 50th anniversary of Hiroshima. And the only other thing I want to say is this Groppenheimer shit, to hell with it. This is Hollywood at its worst, taking a popular actor and giving him the role of the scientist, and not allowing a view. I haven't watched it. I've just read about it. There's no view of what he's thinking that takes into account the people of Japan. And yet even that is false, because Oppenheimer himself did some lobbying to make sure that the bomb was used in the war. He was all for it. He wanted it to happen. And, so anything you hear otherwise is just absolute bullshit. The U.S., we all know now that they never needed to use it. Militarily, it was completely unnecessary. And you know, the myth of it saving a million troops or whatever the fuck we're supposed to believe is just absolute nonsense. So the United States remains uh, the only power ever to have used nuclear weaponry, and probably the only power that was careless enough to risk um, having to use them again or feeling the need to use them again during the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was, you know, the U.S. saying, "So what if we've got missiles on your border? You know, you're trying to kill Castro. You've invaded Castro, and Castro's asking us for um, weapons, and we're going to give them to him. You keep trying to kill the guy, you know." So fuck the United States for that, for using them, uh, and you know, that's my story, and with a little commentary at the end on you know, I don't know a lot of times what's going on in U.S. culture. This Barbie thing, I have no idea what the fuck's going on with that, and I came across a review written by a friend of mine who was somewhat disappointed, he said, but that it was worth watching. And I realized that it was not, you know, I had no idea what the fuck it was. And that I heard Kate McKinnon was in it, or he said that. And I thought, oh, I like Kate McKinnon. She's very funny. So I have no idea what Barbie is, but if you have to choose, go watch Barbie. You'll learn a lot more about um, nuclear warfare by watching Barbie than you will about by watching this fucking biopic bullshit. That's me and my it's me and my dotage in my later years, speaking to you from the country that's underwater right now, but has never had a nuclear bomb um, on one of its ships or in a shed or in a silo anywhere. You know, I'm in Slovenia. It's a NATO country, which is insane, but no nukes. This ain't Israel, man.